As I write, I live. These are words by Nonhlanhla Busimthembu, once a teenage mother who had to carry the heavy burden and stigma and shame as a 15-year-old girl. But today she's living her best life yet, having chosen to not let that single event, a blessing in disguise, define who she is. Raised by the endearing and strong presence of her grandmother in rural Limpopo, Nonhlanhla could not have imagined the blessing her life would be to others someday. Welcome to the show. My name is Refilwe Mwilwa, and I hope you're as keen as I am to learn more from this lady who is living, loving, laughing and writing through every single stage. She told our story to our producer, Nonhlanhla Mthembu.
Some make it a rule to never take advice from someone who hasn't been there. Here's an uplifting story of a Limpopo-born Nonhlanhla Mthembu who shares how she got through her own personal tunnel of hell at only 15 years old. 22 years ago, life knocked her down to her knees. Not only did she survive, but she learned to strive.
My son's 22 this year, and I'm actually 37. And I should tell you, I had my son when I was 15. This was one of the worst mistakes I've had to commit empilweni. Now, at high school, doing grade 10, a 15-year-old, nobody imagines themselves a mother. But yes, I did have a relationship with a 17-year-old boy, and 1993, my son was born. Now, unfortunately, as a 15-year-old, you do not decide what you do with your life. Your parents do. But I was lucky. As disappointed as my parents were of what I had done, they protected me. There was no way me and a 17-year-old could be together to raise a child.
Nonhlanhla grew up under guardians who were very open to her. They talked about boyfriends and sex.
I was raised by my grandmother, actually, and my aunts around. They were very open. They did tell me about the dangers of playing with boys, because at that time it would be called playing, and it was no play at all. To an extent that when my aunt realized that I was actually a very reckless girl, you know, these days they would say we are pap. I was that kind. I was very outspoken, had a lot of friends, and my aunt was worried and actually did take me to the clinic. But trying to outsmart my parents, I listened to friends who said, no, if we go to the clinic and get contraceptives, we're going to gain weight, we'll look ugly, you know, all these stories around it. And I decided to lie to my parents and tell them I am still going for my contraceptives, I am still taking care of myself the way they told me to. But actually, I wasn't.
As young and naive as Nonhlanhla and her boyfriend were, there were of course times when they guided each other in the wrong direction by feeding one another false information.
He said to me, if I drink Coke, if I drink lots of Coke before we have sex, I'm not going to be pregnant. And I actually listened to him. And we did that. Less than 2 months down the line, my aunt came home to visit one weekend. And she was like, you're looking too yellow for yourself. What's wrong? I'm like, okay, nothing wrong. My grandma trusted me. That woman had faith in me, believed in me. She was like, no, Umtanu Yakula, what's wrong with her changing color? I mean, she's a big girl now. But my aunt was not fazed. She took me to the doctor on that Saturday, and the doctor confirmed I was pregnant.
While other teenagers were going through what teens normally go through, Nonhlanhla was faced with adulthood, and this caused a depression amongst many other things.
It was a difficult time in my life. Had to lose friends, had to move out of school, had to stay at home and see my belly growing each and every day, praying for it to go away. Actually, I even attempted a couple of times to get rid of the pregnancy. I tried drinking laxatives because I thought with laxatives, whatever it is should be small by now and it will wash away. I tried taking an overdose of pills. Now, we had a helper at home who was the one who discovered my take of overdose pills that particular day. And she sat down with me and showed me how terrible what I wanted to do was. And I actually begged her not to tell my grandma about it because I knew she would be disappointed. One of the reasons why I saw them supporting me the way that they did, I think they were also afraid that I would do something terrible.
A support structure helped her look at the positive things in life instead of the wrong she had done.
They in no way glorified my mistakes. They showed me where I went wrong, and I knew I had done wrong as well.
As a child, there were definitely times when she blamed herself.
There was a time when I thought of running away from home. I was just angry. I was angry at myself. I was angry at him. But in about 3 weeks, I told him. He did not believe that. And I think that was the day I experienced the worst kind of abuse, because he was so angry at me. He started beating me and told me he will make me vomit whatever it is that I am claiming is in my stomach. And you'd expect that. At 17, who knows what being a father is? He just did not believe his eyes.
Since Nonhlanhla had always loved school, she didn't allow the pregnancy to make her drop out.
I begged my mom to allow me to go back to school, which she did, because it was around April when they found out that I was pregnant. But I went to school up until July, when we were now going to winter holidays. And Mama was like, no, now you're becoming like too big, and they'll probably notice at school. You have to stop now. And I did stop for that year, which is the year my son was born. Luckily, my son was born in November. And January, we were preparing to go back to school. My mom moved me to a different school. First is because I'm the one who told them that, look guys, I'm not ready to go and face my friends after this. I'm a mother now. They took me to a different school. It wasn't easy. I went to a school with other kids from my village. So obviously the news would be out soon that, hey, that girl is a mom.
She juggled being in grade 10 and being a mother.
You get home, there's a child that you need to feed, prepare, bath him for bed and stuff like that. And then go back to do your homeworks. And while you're doing that, he probably wants some attention now and then. Those challenges, they make you sit and look at your life and think, wow, so I'm different from everybody else.
Nonhlanhla balanced those moments to what she was grateful for and kept moving towards what she wanted.
I must be very grateful for the support of my family, because I did manage to get to a point where I even passed my matric, and I'm still motivated to continue and study what I dreamt of doing even before I became a mom.
Wow. Stay tuned after the break. Nonhlanhla talks about the makings of her foundation called Women in Progress and other big projects that she's been involved in.
Your World makes it its business every evening to round up the leading local stories and international news to keep you informed all the time.
Make a date with Your World every evening for all the news headlines around the world to keep you abreast with knowledge.
Catch Your World for headlines across the world every Monday to Friday from 9 p.m, then Saturday and Sunday from 7 p.m.
Morning is when different people take different directions to different places for different reasons to do different things. Streets come alive. Evening is when people go home to their loved ones and turn to South Africa's most watched and trusted evening news. Because we keep the nation fully informed. We are SABC News.
South Africa is the third leading country globally in TB infections.
We have 9 million new cases occurring globally, and 30% of those cases are occurring in the African region.
And there are two broad kinds of drug-resistant TB, so to speak. The one is MDR TB, and the other is XDR TB.
To ensure that everyone who's diagnosed with TB is tested for HIV.
There's grossly inadequate funding for TB. Vaccine, drug and diagnostic research. We need a lot more.
Join me on Health Talk every Saturday morning between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. as we unpack current health stories.
Welcome back to Bophelong on the SABC News Channel. Nonhlanhla is a motivator to the youth especially, getting through the message to them that they are a part of a script in God's best-selling movie. So what's stopping you from playing your part and telling the bigger story?
Nonhlanhla realized that the only thing she can really do is forgive and keep moving forward. Not only does she have a strong bond with her son, she also has taken a stand to help other young people out there.
I was forgiven by God. I was forgiven by my parents a long time ago. It was just me who kept on beating myself about this. Every time a relationship did not go right in my life, I started blaming the fact that I'm a mother. I was like, okay, maybe I'm not too open even to relationships, because the one thing that I always want to do is to protect my son. When I look at the guy, before I can even fall in love with him, the first thing that I'm thinking is he going to be a good father to my son? Then I got to a point where I said to myself, Nonhlanhla, God has forgiven you. Forgive yourself for that. You cannot beat yourself about this for your whole life. You know, and when I finally did, I started embracing this fact that I'm a mother. I started talking freely about it. Actually, even in my talks, I still tell people today that I am so proud to be a mom to this boy. Today, he is my story. He is my life. He has given me reason to know what forgiveness is, and he has given me reason to know that life will happen. Whether you do it right or not, if there are things that are meant to happen in your life, they will happen.
Because of her experiences, she started a foundation to encourage the youth, to advise single mothers, and not only that, but to teach about self-love.
Women in Progress, as a foundation that I started, came about when I realized that my message of no to boys, yes to books, yes to school, yes to self-confidence, yes to loving yourself, that message worked so well in my family. And when I saw that message actually working in my family, I thought, why can't I do it for the neighbors? Why can't I do it for my high school where I matriculated? Why can't I do it for any other school?
Nonhlanhla explained how the foundation's name came about.
The name came out of me. The name represents me. Me, because I am a woman in progress. I started this progress long ago, before I could even realize it. When my mom was saying, you can no longer go and play with your friends, you need to sit and take care of your child. Little did I know, she was preparing me for this woman that I have become today. So why I called it Woman in Progress is because when I get to these youth, whether boys and girls, I do tell them, you are somebody in progress. Don't look at yourself now and want to settle for the things that you see. Don't settle for the girl that you see at school now. You are a man in progress.
She was fortunate enough to get the platform of motivating school kids through the Sibusiso Loepe Education Foundation, also known as SLIF.
I was introduced to Sibusiso Loepe Foundation, which helped me to actually get the confidence to go to school and say, can I deliver my message to the students? And that started off as me just taking the message there. Little did I know that I would make a relationship with these girls and boys that today has now created the mentorship program that I'm busy with, because I realize that after talking to them, there is still so much more that they want to understand. There is still so much more that they want to ask.
Hlo Muhlala of SLEF explained Nonhlanhla's contribution to the foundation.
Well, Usis Nonhlanhla is someone who joined us, I think, last year. And she's been doing amazing work with us. We've been running for almost 7 years. SLEF has been running for 7 years and counting 8 now. We're going around South Africa to the schools just to, motivate and change lives. And we call ourselves change agents. And she happened to join us and be one of the change agents because of her amazing story that she shared with us. And a lot of girls that struggle to find themselves in society could relate to her story. She has become such a great asset to the foundation as a whole. And as SLEF, we are really, really amazed and proud to have someone like Mam Nonhlanhla. We call her Mama because she's older than all of us. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's her contribution and that's the affiliation we have with her as a foundation.
Nonhlanhla started changing young lives and impacted many women as soon as she joined SLEF.
There's a wing with women in the foundation because most it's male dominated. So that's when Mam Nonhlanhla came in and I came in and we decided, why don't we focus on the young women, because women in this country feel neglected. And then we joined the foundation and we opened that wing of the Women's Foundation. We're like, let's do this thing and see what we can do.
Nonhlanhla's story has given others courage to tell their stories too.
I was motivated. I was just moved, a lot of women have stories of their own they don't want to share. And when she came out and she's like, I'm going to share mine, I think it just opened so many doors for all of us to say something about some things that we've been through as young women, and that's why for me it was just extremely moving for her to literally say, guys, I had a child and it's okay. It's not the end. A lot of us have stories, but we don't want to share them because of what we're afraid of, and I feel like she's overcome the fear, she's overcome the shame, and for her it's more of a glory instead of a story now.
Selby is one of Nonhlanhla's many mentees. He had a very negative background but has since changed with Nonhlanhla's assistance.
The whole thing started by the loving money. Then I was able to do everything in order to get money. So I've sold drugs, I've sold ikezi, and then I was just being a DJ, DJing in a club, selling boozy, and then those type of things. So when Klangana no assistant background I equal right because of at the end of the day we trying to buy lead. But we are aware now which is I'm not leading the society in a direct way. I'm misleading them because of Batisha isn't doing it right, but deep inside they are killing me because of I'm not proud of what I was.
One would expect Nonhlanhla's experience to touch women only, but it has gone as far as motivating men too.
Sometimes you get into a situation where you fight your own. You fight yourself, and then mawuzilwa zingabi ukuthi uzilimaze at the end of the day ilwa ukuthi kuphume lento le efihlakele ngaphakathi kwakho. And then lokho nami ngebackground yami ngabona ukuthi hayi man ngiyakhala ngezinto engizenzile emhlabeni, but nabo abantu abakhala ukuthi bahleli nabantu abakhulu nakibo bazama ukubuyisa background ngingcono kunabo. So situation yami incane kunyaka sesinonhlanhla. So if yena khonile overcome yakhe, and then mina can multiply the number ukuthi nami ngiyenze yami.
A big thank you to Hloni and Selby for sharing with us. Don't go anywhere. The last stretch of the show is up next.
Information-hungry viewers stay with SABC News, as issues on the West are different from issues on the East or here in Johannesburg. So it is not surprising that people who follow the news know that there are two things for sure: that anything can happen, and SABC News will tell you when it does. Because we keep the nation fully informed. We are SABC News.
Why, in the 21 years of democracy, the issue of dialogue around this symbol is still being envisaged?
Conversation does not replace the actual transformation.
History is history. You don't choose it, it's there.
Is it important to maybe have some symbols that are not so good to remind us of what must never ever happen again.
The generations to come not to know the face of an oppressor. They must know that face. They must go somewhere and look at that face and say, this is the kind of face, this is the kind of a person we do not want to see in future.
We must never forget to include the heritage of the Khoi and the San people.
There are foremost indigenous people in this country, which is the Khoi and the San. That's why Clay of the coat of arms.
I've been trying to pronounce that for years.
That's Rights and Recourse, Sundays 2 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome to Network, a technology news program that also discusses what's trending in social media in and around Africa. MTN has launched its new movie and television streaming service, Front Row. If it's trending, we will find it. That's Network with me, Spumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. only on the SABC News channel.
Welcome again to Bophelong, your weekly uplifting show profiling ordinary South Africans who wake up with a winning attitude every day and choose to not let their circumstances overpower them. Let's now see Nonhlanhla in action at Blue Eagles High School and then hear from her teenage son on his beloved mother.
My message is normally meaningless until I come here at schools like this, where I get to talk to the kids and give them the message with the belief that it will somehow change their decision making. This is Blue Eagle High, one of the schools that I've worked with since the beginning of this year, and I'm very happy today to come here again.
Nonhlanhla has built a relationship with students from Blue Eagle High School in Cosmo City. Her motivational talks vary. Depending on the day's topic, some sessions need just girls or boys, while some need both.
After I had a talk with Sis Nonhlanhla, I saw life from a different angle and I built confidence about myself. I had a low self-esteem, and after hearing her story, I decided to change some of the things in my life. I decided to build my confidence and walk with pride.
The choices that you make out of this yard will influence your life. It doesn't matter how good you perform in here. Once you get outside and you become this reckless boy and reckless girl, you are going to put all of this to waste.
Nonhlanhla advises about the realities of life and paints a picture of the big world outside high school.
Girls, I still say, I am proud of you. I love the fact that you're taking care of yourself. You're all looking good. But I'll tell you one thing. These looks are not going to pay your bills. They are not going to raise your children. Actually, at some point, they will fade away, sooner than you even expect. It's your character. It's the way you carry yourself. It's the things that you would have achieved in life that will make people look at you even when you're gray and say, wow, this woman, because of the things that you would have achieved.
Mduduzi is the young man behind Nonhlanhla's powerful story. He explains how he once felt like he was a mistake and a burden to his mom.
Bangitshela ukuthi wangithola sesemncane. So ukucabanga kwami ukuthi like aka-enjoyanga youth yakhe. Thina no sayi-enjoy youth yethu senza kuphela. 16 umntana ona 16 no wenza kuphela akakhethi ukuthi uyaphuma noma kunini. So mangicabanga ukuthi olilami mina 16 bekumele ukuthi angigada uyesigela angibheke yabona uma cruiseni yes ugogo bekakhona yabona angibhekelela naye izinto ezinjalo. Ngifila ngathi ngike ngamushi life yakhe. Ufeel like ukuzwa kwami khona la there's a point where bengifila ngathi yazini bengamele ngibe khona mhlambe maybe kuba wayenza abortion or wayenza something maybe kube manje is somewhere else mangimbheka sometimes ngokufila ngathi ngimushi life yakho.
The strong bond between him and his mother is evident because his face lights up when he's around her or when he talks about her.
Timpinchami Ferikazi day one nigga ngifanayo yabo like si strong noma yini ngikwazi ukuthi ngingananix ngingananyuku ngiyekuye ngicela inyuku mfethu ngikusoka ublind uyakwazi ukungitshela ukuthi anginanyuku nginenyuku like ayikho into angangitsheli yona ayikho into engamtsheli yona siyakhuluma noma yini like nje si strong mina naye ifere I choose we more than mother and son.
Nonhlanhla has not only inspired the youth out there, but she has also inspired her son, who is her story.
Like I encourage ukuthi life in mfethu kumele ungagive up no matter what. Ungayenza into wrong, noma ungazenza nje mara ungagive up life in. Abangumntwana na 15 uthola umntwana ukwazi ukuphasa. So mina kimi ike encourage blind ukuthi umntwana pusha no matter what. Pusha like unga give up. Ungayenza yonke into bheme wenzeni uthola incosi wenze mara pusha boy. Unga give up. So kimi nje like bekunjalo engqondweni yami no I still want more. Lento lengifundisa ukuthi go for more.
I've always said to myself, my son will be the kind of man that I would have wanted for myself. We have a very close relationship. So close that sometimes I get worried, because he's still that baby boy. But now and then he changes to this man who wants to be protective. Sometimes when I walk down the streets with him, people normally assume he's my boyfriend. And he loves that role of being that man. But one thing that I always teach him is to be a gentleman. I want my son to treat girls differently. I always pray to God that he gets my message right, because I am saying to him, it doesn't matter what mama went through. It doesn't matter that you were brought up without a father. You can be a father yourself.
Now that Nduduzi has grown, he no longer blames himself, but realizes that he was the missing link, and he has now made his mother's life whole.
Lento ayiqalile integral and ngimshela inhlanhla like enkulu ngimshela igama lakhe futhi inhlanhla grow blind ukuthi aqhubeke ayenze like anga give up khona abantwana bamdingayo la ngaphandle.
Today my life has now turned into an open lesson, and I enjoy opening this book to teenagers every day to say, read a chapter from my life and see if it cannot help you make better decisions than I did.
With Mduduzi wanting to take over the photography industry in Johannesburg and Nonhlanhla's book on the way, there is definitely no stopping these two. One is the story, and the other is changing lives by sharing the story.
Nonhlanhla's driving force in life is just to be an example to her generation, leading an exemplary life. And this is what pushed her even more into doing what came naturally to her, that is writing. In a poem she wrote, "My pride lies in the hearts I have touched and the minds that still remember me, and many do and will remember you." Thank you for sharing your story, Nonhlanhla. For any comments and suggestions, email us, of course. Our email address is bophelong@sabc.co.za. From me, Refilo Muilwa, it's blessings to you and yours, and to all the mothers out there, to you, yours, and even myself. Happy Mother's Day for Sunday.